What up, Bugles? I want to welcome you to this video and to our Comics Bugle channel, your go-to spot for everything omnibus and oversized. Once in a while, the creator comes along who just doesn't only add to the franchise, but completely shift its trajectory. And today we are dive into that kind of game changer. Ladies and gentlemen, X-Men by all Ewing Omnibus. The cover price is 125 USD and the book has 1136 pages. One thing that makes this book unique is that it's the only second creator-centric omnibus of the Krakoa era. First was X-Men by Jonathan Hickman Omnibus, released way ago. So this is another series-based omnibus, not an event omnibus, but a collection built around the vision of a single writer putting together Sword, X-Men Red, Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants, Resurrection of Magneto, and several other short stories and tie-in issues to bigger events, all in fantastic reading order, but I will talk about it a little bit more later. I own this standard cover by fantastic Stefano Caselli, which features a dynamic illustration showcasing Storm and powerful lineup of mutants in bold, energetic poses. The vibrant colors and lightning effects immediately draw attention and capture the high-stake cosmic tone of Ewing's run. It's a visually striking design that highlights the serious blend of action, power, and theme-driven storytelling. Here is Felipe Massafera's direct market cover, which delivers a striking, almost mythical portrayal of Magneto, capturing the raw power and gravitas that define all Ewing's era. His hyper-realistic rendering style gives the piece an epic, larger-than-life energy. It feels less like a comic art and more like a painted tribute to a legendary figure, perfectly setting the tone for the stories collected inside. By my opinion, both covers are stunning, and it depends only on your taste if you want to go with a more comic book style or more artistic design. The back cover presents a minimalist red layout featuring a quote from Abigail Brand, along with some Krakoan language signs. It includes a summary of all Ewing's work in this book and the collected issues, giving readers a clear overview of the content inside. The layout is sleek, minimalist, and consistent with the recent Marvel Krakoa themed omnibus designs. The same applies to the spine, which continues the established trend of the Krakoa line. Under the Marvel Omnibus logo, we only get the book's title and the creator's name on a dark red background. The lettering itself is quite small, which is a rather strange decision on Marvel's comics part, but as I mentioned before, it still fits perfectly alongside the minimalist designs of the other omnibuses from the Krakoa era. The book's boards continue this trend as well. No artwork, just the design filled with small X-Men logos in a very nice shade of red. Yes, the Krakoa era books definitely aren't trying to impress with flashy visuals. Instead, they make it clear that, at least in the Terrible's design, they're embracing minimalism as strongly as possible to distinguish themselves from the rest of the Marvel Universe. Whether this approach works for you ultimately depends on your personal preferences. When we open the book, we are greeted by opening page with the same design as the boards, and after that we get a table of contents slash credit double page with all detailed informations about creators and artists involved in every part of this book. After that, we jump straight to the stories itself. When Marvel Comics announced that All Ewing is gonna write some series in Krakoa era of X-Men, I was immediately paying attention. Ever since I read Immortal Hulk, Ewing has been one of those writers where the moment I see his name on a cover, I stop and take notice. He has this rare ability to combine cosmic scope with emotional honesty, high concept sci-fi with grounded character work, and huge universe-shaking ideas with small personal truths. So the question was obvious. What would Ewing do with the X-Men during the Krakoa era? And after reading series collected in this omnibus, I can honestly say I wasn't disappointed. If anything, it exceeded my expectation and became one of the most complete, self-contained visions to come out of the Krakoa period. Now that we covered this, I also need to mention that this omnibus isn't exactly ideal for people who go, Oh, X-Men by Ewing, that sounds great, and dive into the book without knowing anything about the events leading up to it. It's definitely good to have at least some understanding of the Krakoa era, and I recommend reading at least House of X, Powers of X, whose new edition has been just released, as well as maybe some of the Dawn of X material. That way you will have a clear picture of the current status quo in the world of mutants and won't end up feeling confused. Omnibus started with Sword from 2020, which is where everything begins. The series launches immediately after the X of Swords event, and it's clear Ewing is interested in questions far beyond what are mutants doing on Earth. For him, the real question is, what is the role of a mutant nation in the wider universe? And that's where Sword shines. It transformed the classic Marvel space agency concept into a diplomatic, scientific, and political arm of the Krakoa nation. Abigail Brand takes center stage here, and Ewing writes her as a frighteningly competent figure, someone who believes she understands the future better than anyone else. And the scary part is that she may be right. Brand's motivation drives much of the tension. She sees Krakoa not just as a nation, but as a rising cosmic superpower. Her loyalty is ambitious, her methods manipulative, and her long-term plans borderline terrifying. Ewing's take on her is cold, Machiavellian, and brilliant, a perfect contrast to the more idealistic mutant leaders like Storm and Magneto. Around her, the supporting cast is equally strong. Manifold, for example, gets some of the best writing he's had in years, with Ewing exploring his powers through a metaphysical lens rather than just treating him like walking teleportation machine. Sword is ultimately a story about power blocks, cosmic diplomacy, and the fragile alliances that hold the universe together. But it's also a story about identity, mutant identity, personal identity, and political identity. And it sets the foundation for everything that comes next. Then comes X-Men Red, which many readers, including a good chunk of critics, consider one of the absolute high points of the entire Krakoa era. And honestly, it's hard to argue with it. If Sword was political, X-Men Red is cultural. It's mythic, it's sociological. Ewing takes the mutants of Arrako and builds the entire civilization around them, complete with customs, traditions, moral values, and an incredibly nuanced concept of strength. Arrako is not just the warlike mutant planet, it's a living culture that has survived millennia of brutality, and now suddenly it has to survive peace. This is where Storm steps into her greatest role in decades, written with a mixture of humility, pride, wisdom, and sheer force of will. Storm becomes the spiritual core of Arako, and one of the smartest choices Ewing makes is that she consistently rejects formal power. She does not want the throne. She does not want to be queen. She doesn't want control. And ironically, that makes her the only leader that Araki can truly respect. Her entire arc is about defending strength not as a dominance, but as integrity. And that idea will matter enormously later, especially in the resurrection of Magneto's storyline. Magneto, by the way, receives one of the finest portrayals of his entire modern history in this series. Evening writes him as a man at the end of his journey, a man who has fought a lifetime of battles and finally wants to build rather than destroy. His relationship with Storm is written with such maturity and subtlety that their conversations alone could fill entire essays. And the moment where Magneto literally tears his heart out in a protest, leaving a crater on Arako, is one of the most unforgettable scenes of the Krakoa era. We also can't ignore the political complexity of X-Men Red. There are factions, rival mutants, cosmic empires, philosophical debates, all built on the question, what makes a society strong? And while Earth is collapsing into infernos of infighting and manipulation, Arako becomes something unexpectedly noble. It's one of the most thematically rich books Marvel published during this period. I also have to praise the mapping of this omnibus, because in this case, Marvel Comics really did an excellent job. The Cable issue is placed right in the middle of the Sword series, exactly where it belongs. And the Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants miniseries, together with the X-Men Before the Fall, Heralds of Apocalypse one-shot, are inserted right in the middle of the X-Men Red Run. This way we can read it in one continuous flow, and thanks to that, it really does feels like one long cohesive saga. A storyline with its own themes, its own arc, and its own emotional conclusion. Ewing wasn't just contributing to the Krakoa tapestry, he was building his own corner of it, with its own culture, its own politics, and its own philosophical core. If you approach this omnibus as a single story with multiple movements, it becomes one of the most rewarding mutant epics Marvel has produced in a decade. And honestly, as someone who became a fan of Ewing through Immortal Hulk, I'm just glad this book exists. Because it proved once again that when Ewing is given room to play with the big ideas and big emotions, he delivers something unforgettable. Finally, everything culminates in Resurrection of Magneto, a 4-issue spiritual epic that serves as the emotional heart and soul of the omnibus. If X-Men Red dealt with Magneto's life, this deals with something much larger, his essence. Storm's quest to bring him back is not just about resurrection in the literal sense. It's about meaning, memory, forgiveness, and the question of whether a man like Magneto can ever find peace. The story blends superhero action with cosmic metaphysics, myth building, and raw emotion. It feels like the final chapter of a long, dignified saga, one that takes Magneto from revolutionary to statesman to martyr to something almost transcendent. I also need to mention these issues double dip a little with Fall of House of X, Rise of Powers of X Omnibus, because obviously Resurrection is a crucial part of Krakoa's age finale. The art across this omnibus deserves a ton of praise as well. Stefano Caselli delivers some of the strongest work of his career in X-Men Red, giving Arrako a harsh but beautiful aesthetic full of alien architecture and expressive character designs. Valerio Schitti's polished, energetic style is perfect for the high-tech, high-concept environment of Sword. Meanwhile, Paco Medina and others bring their own energy to Storm and the Brotherhood and the Before the Fall material. The visual identity of this run is remarkably consistent despite multiple artists, largely thanks to Ewing's clear thematic direction. As for behind the scenes bits, one amusing detail is that Ewing originally pitched aspects of his Arrako storyline before X of Swords even wrapped, and Marvel editorial encouraged him to go bigger, not smaller. Caselli also mentioned it in interviews that designing the Araki mutants required creating a visual language unlike anything on Earth, something violent, ceremonial, and ancient. And apparently, the idea of Magneto carving his last words into the red sands of Mars was something Ewing had joked about for years before it actually happened. When it comes to the extras, the omnibus comes with over 90 pages of bonus material, which might look like a lot, but the vast majority of it is made up of a massive gallery of variant covers. These covers are gorgeous and definitely fun to flip through, yet they dominate almost all of the extra section. Outside of that, you only get a handful of pages featuring character designs, and that's essentially it. It's a nice addition overall, but anyone hoping for deeper behind the scenes content or scripts pages might feel a bit underwhelmed. And that's all. X-Men by All Ewing Omnibus isn't just a collection of stories, it's a complete saga. Philosophical, political, mythic, and really character driven. If X-Men by All Ewing Omnibus catch your attention, you can order your own copy in our eShop, comicsbugle.com. Your friendly neighborhood comic book shop in Europe. Accept a great catalog of collected, deluxe, and absolute editions, epic collections, and omnibuses. We guarantee you eco-friendly Hulkproof packaging, free shipping in whole EU, an option to pre-order your comic book now and pay for it later. You can also split full price to 4 separate payments because we know how expensive these books can be. So check it out, comicsbugle.com. You can find direct links below this video. And that's all. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to smash the like and subscribe button so we don't miss out any further videos. In our comment section, let us know what other books or topics would you like to see in our videos. And see ya, Bugles!